Hey, what's going on, gang? This is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel and to the 58th episode of the Rolling Stone. And we've got to start things off on not only a somber note, but we have to start things off on a terrifying note, because as I know, you guys all know, because this is a story that could not be ignored. Minneapolis is burning. As of this recording, and I'm recording this FYI on Friday, May 29th. So for the last 3 nights, Thursday, Wednesday, and Tuesday, there have been riots and there has been chaos, anarchy in Minneapolis. Looting, pillaging, burning, the whole 9 yards, just like we're in the dark ages again. Why? Well, because 4 former police officers of the Minneapolis Police Department killed a 46-year-old black man named George Floyd. So, the brief background on this, and I know that you guys already know this, is that the police were called on George Floyd because they were told that a forgery was in process. Floyd was in the process of writing a bad check. When the 4 officers found him, he was in his car. They dragged him out, handcuffed him, put him belly down on the ground, and then 3 of the officers proceeded to actually physically restrain him. One officer, Devin Shaven, actually put his knee on the back of Floyd's neck, and 2 other officers had their knees on his body in different places. And they refused to get up off of George Floyd, even though Floyd multiple times said, I can't breathe, and at one time said, it hurts all over, I hurt all over. And these officers, they didn't get up, didn't do anything until the EMTs arrived and put Floyd on a stretcher, and then he died later. Because of that, Minneapolis has been burning to the ground. Okay, just to give some idea of what's been happening. These rioters, they looted a Target, they burned down a Wendy's, they burned down an AutoZone, they burned down an affordable housing complex that was being built. And then last night, as of this recording, so Thursday night, May 28th, they burned down the 3rd Precinct Police Station. Okay, think about that for just a second. They burned down, these rioters, this mob, they burned down a police precinct. And the thing about it, the really amazing thing about it, is that nothing was done. The police evacuated the building, and they basically just let the mob have its own way. In fact, the city of Minneapolis sent out a tweet Thursday night saying, oh my gosh, you know what? The gas lines at the 3rd Precinct Police Station, they might be jeopardized. If you're in the area, stay away for your own safety. Okay, I don't think that these people should have just been allowed to blow up, okay, if those gas lines were in danger of blowing. Although there was a rumor, Michael Tracy on Twitter said that he was in the crowd actually Thursday night in Minneapolis. He said that there was a rumor that the mob itself was actually trying to get those pipes to blow up the precinct for them. So this was probably all part of their plan. Okay, but this is where we have gotten to. This is what has happened because of this. Now there are a ton of things to say about this story. First and foremost, this is not justice. Can I just say that? Absolutely and emphatically and clearly, that this is not justice. What happened to George Floyd is a travesty. And in some sense, Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department dug their own graves, because several of these officers involved in Floyd's death had previous complaints made against them. Devin Shaven, the guy who actually had his knee on Floyd's neck, he had 18 complaints made against him throughout his career in the Minneapolis Police Department. Okay, now why the hell would that have happened? Why didn't the police department actually take action and fire him before this happened? I have no idea. Okay? Another one of the officers, Tothau, I'm butchering his name horribly, my apologies, he actually had complaints made against them. He actually had one outstanding charge against him that Internal Affairs was still investigating when this incident happened. Now, the four of them have been fired, and actually, as of this recording, Friday afternoon, Devin Shaven has been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. So we are going to see if that actually stops the riots. We'll see if that stops the riots. I, however, have my suspicions. I follow Andy Go on Twitter. You all should be doing that too. He's an independent journalist. He has been reporting on this story. And early this morning, okay, I saw them actually this morning when I got up, but early in the morning, we're talking about 2:46 a.m. and thereabouts, okay? Andy Go tweeted that things are only getting worse. This is what Andy Go tweeted out early Friday morning. Rioters in Minnesota blast audio from The Purge on a loudspeaker. Any and all crime, including murder, will be legal for 12 continuous hours. That is not exactly what I think of when I think of justice. The Purge? Really? Any and all crime, including murder, is justified and is legal? Basically, complete anarchy, a Hobbesian war of all against all. That's not justice. That is not justice at all. Here's another tweet from Andy Go. Person at Minneapolis Black Lives Matter race riot makes it clear that this is revenge and that the worst is yet to come. Quote, one of ours, two of yours, he shouts. We're coming for y'all, N-word. This is only the beginning, mother. You can fill in the rest there. Those two tweets by themselves, and also, I mean, he had others saying, for example, that, rioters are redistributing food and loot from stores to their comrades. Andy Go says the anarchy, violence, and chaos witnessed in the last 72 hours in Minneapolis is what Antifa's vision for society looks like. Absolutely true. This is not justice. Justice, as I have said several times before, many times before on this channel, it is giving to another what is due to him by his actions, by his deeds, etc., by his circumstances, etc. You do not target innocent people in the pursuit of justice. You do not burn down people's businesses, which also happen to be people's sources of income, because it's where people work. It's not just business owners being hurt by this. It's common, everyday people like you and me who all of a sudden had their jobs completely cut away from their lives, as if they didn't have more to worry about this pandemic and the lockdown orders, etc. Now, even the place of their employment is gone because it's been looted or burned to the ground. Because these mobs burned down this affordable housing complex that was being built, several people were mentioning that there could be, a significant number of people in Minneapolis who now find themselves homeless this winter. Okay, what about those people? Did any of those people have anything to do with George Floyd's death? No. Does anybody therefore deserve to be treated in this manner because of George Floyd's death? No. But like this one guy said, it ain't about justice. It's about revenge. And the city of Minneapolis is not helping one damn bit. The governor of Michigan, the governor of Minnesota called the National Guard, but he did that on Wednesday night. Thursday night, There were still riots. In fact, Thursday night was the worst night because that's when they burned down the 3rd Precinct Police Station. Okay? So the authorities aren't doing anything at all. In fact, the mayor of Minneapolis was saying, this is the result of generations of oppression. Okay? No. No, it is not, Mr. Mayor. This is about the raw exhibition of power. Because if people were actually protesting George Floyd's death, and they were protesting police brutality, if their goal was justice in compensation for generations of oppression, they would not be targeting innocent people. They would not be saying, hey, anarchy, do whatever you want. Any and all crimes, including murder, are legal. They wouldn't be saying, for every one of us, 2 of yours. Who the yours are, I don't even want to think about. And we're coming for all of you, mother effers. They wouldn't be saying that. Okay? They wouldn't be acting like this. They wouldn't be saying anything about this. MSNBC, of course, these are sterling news hawks out there. This is from the Daily Caller, a tweet that the Daily Caller put out. MSNBC reporter says, I want to be clear on how I characterize this. This is mostly a protest. It is not, generally speaking, unruly. And he's speaking in front of a burning building. A building is literally burning behind him. And he says, it's generally not unruly. It's not unruly. This is just a protest, not a riot. Nothing to see here, folks. Nothing to see here, folks. Our leaders are in denial. They are in denial. Now, I have several theories as to why exactly that is. For one reason, I think that some of these people want this to happen. I think that there are several people in government, in the media, in our elites, whether that is, politics, academia, entertainment, who want this to happen. Because they think that all white people are guilty. You are guilty automatically because of your whiteness. We have not progressed at all on racial relations, okay? We are right back in the antebellum time period, the first half of the 19th century. Back then, if you were black, that meant that you were somehow subhuman. You weren't totally human. Now, it's the exact same thing, okay? If you're a white person, you're automatically guilty of oppression, of racism, of privilege, okay? And therefore, you must be punished. You must be punished to aright the celestial scales of justice. We are right back there. So I think many people actually want this to happen. Also, they want this to happen because they don't think that they're going to pay any consequences. Here's another great tweet, okay? This time from that sterling filmmaker himself, Michael Moore. Remember him? Fahrenheit 9/11? This is what he said at 11:29 p.m. Thursday, May 28th on Twitter. Quote, "Good citizens burning down the evil police precinct in Minneapolis after all police were out and safe. All police should go home. No violence, please. Police HQ must be demolished by the city tomorrow as a show of contrition to Black America. Rebuild PD with decent, kind people, aka people of color." Forget all of the conflictions in that tweet. Okay? Buildings apparently are inherently evil, but people are inherently good, but only if they're people of color, okay? It doesn't matter, actually, the line between good and evil in every heart, as Alexander Solzhenitsyn said. Now it all just depends on your color, and if you're a white person, you are not a decent or kind person. You're only decent or kind if you happen to be the right color, if your skin is the right color. We are right back in the antebellum time period, people. Right back there. So, I mean, that's part of it. I think that a lot of people are eager for this to happen because they see it as some sort of the arc of the universe bending towards justice, as they like to say. But I also think that some people want this to happen because when there is anarchy, they gain more control, whether that's political control or cultural control, because all of our elites are out there pushing intersectionality. They are pushing critical theory. They are pushing identity politics, which the logical end goal of all of those is this. It is Minneapolis. What we are seeing right now, the pillaging, the looting, the burning, that is the logical end result of intersectionality, critical theory, identity politics. This is it. You want to know where those things logically end up? It's right there in Minneapolis, in the burned buildings, the burned dreams, and the fear and the terror and the chaos that are happening right there to those people. But they don't care. The elites don't, who want this to happen, because when you can divide people up, when you can pigeonhole people up, and then you can say, this group is oppressing you, this group is oppressing you, we are here because, again, we are the Brahmin class. We let you know how you are being oppressed. We know what the score is. We are on your side. And they gain more power through the chaos. There is opportunity in chaos, as Xander Drax says in The Phantom, which was it's a very little remembered film from 1996, which actually would be a great watch right now if you just want to turn your brain off from the reality that is crashing and burning all around us. Now, how do we fix this? That's a serious question. How do we fix this? A lot of people are going to have their own ideas. They're going to suggest policies. They're going to suggest laws. They're going to suggest procedures, Ultimately, in my opinion, the only thing that is going to stop this permanently, that is going to stop us from continually sinking down further and further and further into this cycle of violence and suffering, is remembering the common humanity that we all have. Okay? The worst thing about intersectionality and critical theory, really, when you get right down to it, is that it strips certain people of their humanity based on their color, based on their sex, based on their orientation, based on their gender. So if you're like me, critical theory and intersectionality says that because I am a white, straight, male, white male, actually, I am actually at the pinnacle of the pyramid, oppressing all the people. My very existence is oppressing people of color. And it's also oppressing queer people. It's oppressing women. And it's oppressing all the people who find themselves in the different intersections of those things, of color, sex, and gender and orientation. And when you think about that, when you start dividing and pigeonholing people again, just like in the 19th century, then you lose their common humanity. Why were black men and black women, enslaved in the South in the first half of the 19th century? Why was slavery allowed to continue? It was because the argument was they're not fully human. They're not exactly, like white people. They are not equal to us. They are below human. That is a very illuminative thought process. It's very common throughout human history, but it is not illuminated. It is not enlightened. It is not true. It is not good, and it is not right. Intersectionality, however, just takes that very same thought process and it just applies it to a different group of people. So people are still being stripped of their humanity. Only when we actually re-recognize the miracle that is every single human person, okay, will we actually stop this. Because when we do that, when we recognize the basic humanity and the uniqueness of each and every single individual human person, then we will be less likely to just start looting and rioting, because we will realize, hopefully, that our actions are hurting people who have had nothing to do with the evil or the injustice that has happened. And let me be perfectly clear, what happened to George Floyd was evil. It was unjust. And if these protests had remained protests, then absolutely, I would say continue, keep going. The fact that Devin Shaven had 18 complaints made against him during his time in the Minneapolis Police Department, it is a crime, almost. It is negligence of duty, almost, of the police department, that was allowed to continue. But because they broke down into riots and have been doing this, I've got to draw the line, because now they have become just as bad as Derek Chauvin and those other officers. These rioters, these people, say, we're coming to get you, mother effers. The people who say that they're the purge. The people who are saying that we're just going to get revenge. For every one of us, it's two of you. They're just as bad as Derek Chauvin. There's no difference between them. Okay? He was evil. What he did was evil. And what these people are doing is evil as well. Now, that, of course, my solution is going to require a huge moral revolution in how we actually think and about how we actually see each other and see society and everything else. So you might say that that's a pipe dream. You might say, oh my gosh, it's going to be so far out there into the future. But ultimately, I think that is the only thing that is going to bring about permanent change. Everything else until then is going to be a Band-Aid. And who knows, we might, I fully agree that we're probably going to need a lot of Band-Aids just to get us over this hump, if we can get over it. But if we're thinking long term, that has to be the goal. Those are my thoughts on Minneapolis and George Floyd. That is story number 1.